James Hayes with Don's Appliances. Today I'm joined with Rob Sobek. Thanks for being here today, Rob. Today we're going to do, maybe think of it like a little game of things that could potentially go wrong with an appliance, and do you replace it? Do you pay someone to repair it? Or is it a DIY where you can maybe take care of it on your own?
Okay.
So
We can do that.
yeah, 100% for sure. So let's start off with, let's say, a 5-year-old microwave. What do you do with that?
Throw it away.
Throw
Microwaves in general, once they're out of the, even in warranty, typically an over-the-range style microwave or a microwave with a trim kit, a countertop microwave, really the one-year warranties most of them come with. If they do break, they just get completely replaced in that warranty. Once that warranty's over, there's really no parts that can be ordered anyway. So throw it away, replace it.
All right, perfect. You know, I think before we were talking maybe a couple ideas. Refrigeration. So at what point, you know, freestanding refrigeration, at what point do you think that's worth trying to repair or versus having to replace it?
Really, you know, refrigeration-wise, there's really, whenever it's like an ice maker or a water dispenser, let's start with that.
Yeah.
If that's what the failure is that's going on, my first step would be DIYing. It could be that the fill tube is frozen over. It could be that the ice maker assembly is frozen in place, or some, you know, the fridge is cycling and got caught up, and now there's ice blocking the unit from working. There's some DIYing that can be done when it comes to water delivery, but when it comes to the cooling system, I really don't think that's a DIY kind of thing. If it's under 5 years old, I think it's probably worth at least diagnosing and then take it from there. But take that against what you paid for the unit in the first place. Mm-hmm. If it's over 5 years old, like me personally, my recommendation is replace it. Sure. If it's over 5.
Okay. Dryers not drying.
Again, I think age is the first question. Mm-hmm. You know, dryers historically, they average a longer lifespan than their paired washing machine. Mm-hmm. So if a washer on average lasts, you know, between 6 and 8 years now, then I would guess a dryer is more like 8 to 10. So
okay.
If somebody calls with a dryer not drying, my first question is how old is the dryer itself? Mm-hmm. How old was the washer that matched it that you bought, assumedly together? But typically when a dryer is not drying, you would think the first thought is an element. It can be an expensive repair, but it all depends on what dryer you have, front load versus top load, what brand. But really, the golden rule, it's a lot like refrigeration, but I would probably say if it's over 7 or 8 years old, I really don't think it's worth even diagnosing. If you're handy, dryers are worth servicing, but servicing yourself.
Well, there's a couple easy things that could really, with the dryer not drying. Right?
Yeah, like a relay, like a small relay or something like that, a timer.
Well, it couldn't even be a blockage in the vent.
True. Yeah, that's true. But typically it would throw a blockage error on a lot of the modern machines now. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if your dryer says that the vent is blocked, you should probably clean the vent.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, that's a common cause of a house fire. So keep your vents clean.
Yeah.
And then I get a lot of calls on burners not igniting on gas ranges, gas cooktops.
First question, when's the last time you cleaned it?
Yeah.
That's always my first question, because typically, whether it's a house cleaner, it's the homeowner, a kid, whatever it may be, they're going at it with like the Dawn dish scrubber or something of the like, and if you get the pins on your igniters wet, or even touch them with something that isn't necessarily wet, but just like they're not standing the way they're supposed to, they won't strike against the burner cap correctly, or they won't strike at all if they are wet. So typically I say steel wool to all of the igniter pins, and then make sure all of your burner caps are centered and kind of not locked, but clearly sitting in the place they're supposed to be. After that, I would probably say a diagnostic from a service tech to find out if you need new igniters. The worst case scenario in that situation would be either a valve or like an infinite switch is what it's referred to as. Those are expensive repairs. If a cooktop's over 10, I wouldn't do those repairs.
Fair. So, and then while we're on cooktops and just everything, wall ovens and maybe not heating properly inside with some temperature fluctuations, or maybe it seems like it's overcooking or undercooking from the temperature you have set?
Well, my first question would be, is what's your definition of uneven? You know, so we run into this all the time, brand new product, you know. People think that they set it to 350, it preheats to 350, and the whole oven's 350 all of the time. That is just the aggregate median temperature over a course of measured time inside of the oven. So typically, if you're just doing, let's say, a convection bake, a majority of the heat being created will be from the bottom of the oven and that rear element behind the fan. The top of the oven typically will be a little bit cooler in comparison. But if it's an older unit, let's just assume an older unit, I would always go with a diagnostic from a service technician. And related to that, if the oven takes forever to preheat, that's almost always an element. That's because whenever an oven's preheating, it's using every single element and firing them at different intervals. But usually with a wall oven, it's either a board, like a control panel, the electronics, or it's an element. And if an oven's out of warranty, if it's under 10 years old, it could be worth doing. If it's over 10 years old, depending on the brand, it could be worth doing. But I would say with wall ovens, that is not a DIY kind of appliance to service outside of replacing racks, replacing a door, maybe a light bulb.
Yeah. And another one, I actually texted you about this for me personally a couple weeks ago. Dishwasher's not draining.
Yeah. Well, number one. Well, and when did it get installed? That's the first question for sure. The dishwasher not draining, that's a big DIY in my opinion. When did it get installed? If it was recently, is it drained into a garbage disposal? If it's drained into a garbage disposal, is the little knocked out?
Yeah.
So that it's not backing it up into the unit. Dishwashers need something called a high loop, which basically the drain needs to at least eclipse the height of the dishwasher itself to create a natural air gap, so that the dishwasher will drain as much as it can with the pump. Anything that can't be pumped out with the pump goes back into the unit, into the sump. If there isn't a high loop, it's very likely you're going to burn your pump out.
Yes.
But if those two things are taken care of and handled, it's very, very likely your pump is bad.
Okay.
Or a board. So a pump and a board, maybe there's some people out there that could do it themselves, but I'd say a vast majority of our customers, that's a service call, but I wouldn't do it if it's over 5 years old.
And for the record, mine was, I did not have my high loop high enough, so.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Well, I think we got time for maybe one more here.
We'll sneak one more in.
Maybe like a washing machine not spinning out properly.
My next door neighbor was just going through this. A top loader on a second floor sounded like an airplane going off. It's a Maytag from 8-9 years ago, and you would know, an appliance professional would know this. The bearings are bad.
Yeah.
Why are their bearings bad? They use way too much soap. But if a washing machine or both, to your point. But a washing machine not spinning, it could be a motor, it could be a board, it could simply just be you're loading it wrong. It could be bearings. It could be that it's not made to be on a second floor and it is.
Yeah.
But none of those repairs, other than moving it from the second floor to a first floor, in my opinion, are a DIY. That's a service call.
100%.
But washing machines, just straight up, they're not worth servicing ever.
Yeah.
No matter what, unless you have a Miele, full-size Miele from 20 years ago, I would not service a washing machine.
All right.
That's all we have.
Yeah, I think that's it. So check us out on donsappliances.com or come see us down in the showroom. Thanks for watching.